Big balls. These words perfectly describe the giant skeleton's destructive power in Clash Royale. His popularity has swung wildly from being the worst card one month to the best the next. But here's a twist you might not expect. Giant Skelly isn't just the big bone daddy of Larry. He's also the proud father of 3 more incredible kids, and you'd be surprised to discover who they are. Hi, I'm ARCTO, and I create weekly Clash Royale documentaries. Today we're going to dig deep into the massive history of the giant skeleton, explore how he affected the game, and uncover all the secrets surrounding this iconic card. It all begins with the mini-film Lost and Crowned, where Larry and his brother Peter embark on an adventure. At the start, their mom, the witch, uses her magic to prepare snacks just like any caring mother would. According to the Clashrama comic strip, Larry's father is Giant Skelly, making the witch and Giant Skelly the parents of both Larry and Peter. But here's where it gets interesting. Larry actually has 2 more siblings. This was revealed in a Clashrama episode called Clone Alone. We can watch a brief clip from that episode to grasp the full story.
Oh, so much emotion and soul. It's just beautiful.
Yes, it's my family.
Interesting. I see your mom, you. Why isn't your sister Brianna the Night Witch in the painting?
My sister Brianna was always too good to play with skeletons because
You told us.
she's all about bats. Bats and skeletons, total opposites. I would never paint someone like her.
Is this elixir delicious today or what?
Dumb art teacher. Like I'd ever paint my stupid sister. Oh, I forgot about this.
It seems Brenna and Brianna had a rocky relationship, but thankfully, the Archer Queen helped them reconcile and work together as a family.
Never trust a slab salesman. Oh, let's hear some sisterly conversation.
None of this would have happened if you didn't steal my best friend.
I was a kid, but I'm sorry. And she dumped me for a musketeer the next day, if it makes you feel any better.
Well, it sort of does.
Well, I guess now the Archer Queen is both our new friend.
Really? What kind of friend locks you in a skeleton trap? Let's exclude her.
Hey, what if we just became each other's best friend?
You're right. What do we need the Archer Queen for?
Maybe it's time to come out now. Why did I put so many nails in this?
Now, let's dive into some key details. First, check out this screenshot. It shows the witch, her daughter, and the skeletons, Larry and Peter, just before Peter's promotion to a guard. In another screenshot, we see Brenna's affection for her brothers through various family photos. But where is Giant Skelly? He's missing from the family photo, likely because he left after discovering the witch was pregnant again. How do I know this? Well, in Lost and Crowned, Larry actually encounters Giant Skelly. When they pass by him, Larry looks back, almost as if he's thinking, hey, I think I recognize that guy. It's hard to tell if this Giant Skelly is his dad or just a relative. However, since Larry appears to be about 1 year old in the comic strip and around 8 in the mini-film, it suggests Giant Skelly left when Larry was very young. If Giant Skelly left when Larry was just 1, he would have no memory of him. To sum up, Giant Skelly is the father of Peter, Larry, and the witches, Brenna and Brianna. It seems he went out for milk and never came back. You know, gotta keep those bones strong. I'm not entirely sure how he managed to impregnate the witch. There's not much anatomy there, but I'll leave that mystery to you. Share your conspiracy theories in the comments and let me know how you think he pulled it off. Feel free to hit me with some of your best bone puns. There's a lot of potential there. Oh, and while you're down there, I've got some pretty exciting news. I'm giving away $100 to one lucky winner as a massive thank you to all of your amazing support. Last time I gave away $50 and the winner was thrilled, so now it's another person's chance to win. To enter the giveaway, all you gotta do is subscribe to the channel, join my Discord server using the link in the pinned comment, and comment balls under this video. Already subscribed and in the Discord server? Hey, you actually automatically entered by just commenting balls. So good luck. It's January 2016, and Clash Royale has just launched with the Giant Skeleton among its initial cards. Originally, Supercell intended for the Giant Skeleton to cost 7 elixir. However, just before the game's release, they decided to lower his cost to 6. At the time, players were still figuring out card synergies and the best way to use the Giant Skelly, so no dominant deck featuring him had yet emerged. Soon, players discovered the true power of the Giant Skeleton. It wasn't his direct damage that made him strong, but his bomb. When defeated, the Giant Skeleton's bomb could devastate anything in its blast radius, making him a game changer on both defense and offense. By the end of January, the Giant Skeleton's usage rate skyrocketed to 18%, which was significant, especially considering how hard it was to obtain and level up epic cards at the time. Common cards, on the other hand, were easier to upgrade, so troops like Minion Horde and Barbarians were everywhere. That's why the Giant Skeleton's Big Black Bomb was a game changer. Back then, it exploded in just 1 second, compared to the 3 seconds of today. That made it incredibly effective against fast-moving troops like Minion Horde, which couldn't escape the bomb's range in time. The bomb dealt massive damage, capable of wiping out almost everything in its blast radius. Unfortunately, everything changed just 1 month later. In February, Tombstone reached the #1 spot in the game with a 68% usage rate. This was due to a balance update that increased the number of skeletons spawned upon its destruction from 4 to 6, making it extremely difficult for the Giant Skeleton to shine. Consequently, his usage rate plummeted to just 2%. At that time, poison hadn't been introduced yet, and arrows were far less effective since they only hit once instead of 3 times like today. Countering buildings was a major challenge. Thanks to this Tombstone balance update, everyone was running Goblin Hut, Barbarian Hut, Tesla, and Tombstone together, creating a heavy building meta. However, Supercell quickly recognized the imbalance and introduced new balance changes and cards, instantly altering the game's dynamics. Most buildings received significant nerfs. For instance, Tombstone's lifetime was reduced from 60 seconds to 40 seconds, and more importantly, Clash Royale introduced new splash damage cards like Ice Wizard, Princess, and Dark Prince, along with Poison. These changes made buildings much less effective, causing them to fall out of the top meta spots. In March, Tombstone's usage rate dropped from 68% to 13%, while the Giant Skelly's usage rose from 2 to 14%. This increase was primarily because of the March 2016 update, which boosted his hit points by 11%, increased his death damage to 3 seconds from 1 second, and decreased his sight range to 5 tiles, down from 6. These changes made the Giant Skeleton much more powerful, as now the Princess Tower and troops had to attack him several more times. And kiting became a bit more challenging. The increase in death damage duration was debatable as either a nerf or a buff. While some troops could now outrun the death bomb, it could wipe out key cards like Wizard, Witch, or Musketeer, since now they had more time to come in closer to the bomb's radius, which was definitely game-changing.
We're going to use the Giant Skeleton once again to block that bridge, and once the Giant Skeleton dies, all of those troops coming in here will die by the Giant Bomb. So like I said before, the Giant Skeleton is a huge defensive tool.
In April, certain content creators were given a different version of the game, featuring a tombstone that visually looked larger and would spawn giant skeletons instead of skeletons. I'm not gonna lie, that looked pretty funny.
It looks like we're gonna have giant skeletons coming out of the tombstone from now on inside of the game. It was pretty obvious that the tombstone needed a bit of a buff, and it looks like this is where Supercell went with it.
I cannot believe what's going on right now. So it's giant skeletons versus giant skeletons.
Oh wow, and when the tombstone breaks, you get like 4 more or 5 that comes out. Wow. Oh, it's just a team full of giant Larrys. Oh my gosh. Oh!
In the following days, weeks, and months, no dominant Giant Skelly decks had emerged. Despite its reputation as a strong defensive card, integrating the Giant Skeleton into successful deck archetypes proved pretty challenging. In May, a new balance update reduced the Giant Skeleton's range from 2 tiles to 0.8 tiles. Additionally, an unannounced change decreased his collision radius from 1.2 tiles down to 1. This meant the Giant Skeleton had to be much closer to his targets to engage them, and could no longer attack from a distance. As a result, he became even less effective, particularly against fast-moving cards like the Hog Rider. June saw the rise of the Hog Trifecta, a deck consisting of Hog Rider, Valkyrie, and Musketeer, which took Clash Royale by storm. The Giant Skeleton struggled against this deck due to its low damage output. For instance, you can see in this clip how little damage the Giant Skeleton's attack does to the Musketeer, barely taking it down before being defeated. It was clear that the Giant Skeleton was not a viable option against this popular deck. The only notable use of the Giant Skeleton was by a YouTuber named Molt. He utilized a deck featuring the Giant Skeleton, Hog Rider, and Dark Prince. This deck, with the Dark Prince as a solid counter to swarms, proved surprisingly effective, and Molt won every match featured in the video.
Rider, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Let's go ahead and just arrow all of... Okay, that was a terrible arrow job, but here come his... there's his skeleton army, and we're yes, go. Come on, focus on the Dark Prince. Focus on the Dark Prince, not the Giant Skeleton. Get over there. No, he's gonna go down right before he gets to the tower. Oh my god.
In July, the Giant Skeleton received a buff. Its damage was increased by a whopping 20%, and while that might seem dramatic, honestly, it didn't make a big difference in practice. The Giant Skeleton still couldn't one-shot popular cards like Goblins, which is a huge deal. And then things took a turn for the worse later in that year, specifically in September, when Clash Royale introduced the Mega Minion. The Mega Minion was arguably the most overpowered card introduced in 2016. With its fast attack speed, high damage output, and impressive health enough to survive a fireball, it quickly dominated the meta. The Mega Minion became a staple in virtually every deck archetype, earning the nickname Meta Minion and reaching a staggering 86% usage rate. As the Mega Minion became the go-to card for many players, the Giant Skeleton's usage rate plummeted to a meager 0%. However, October brought a glimmer of hope. A standout deck emerged that turned the tide, dominating the arenas and achieving top finishes. Huge shout out to Surgical Goblin, one of Clash Royale's top players to this day. Ash invited Surgical Goblin to his video to discuss the deck he created. Surgical Goblin crafted a fascinating Three Musketeers deck featuring the Elixir Collector, Giant Skelly, and surprisingly, Barbarian Hut.
Really going to enjoy, and that card is the Giant Skeleton. So can you tell us a little bit maybe about what is your overall feelings on the Giant Skeleton? Why have you started using him, and what do you think his strengths and weaknesses are in general before we delve into these two decks?
Yeah, so the Giant Skeleton, defensively, it can be really good because his bomb, when he dies, he leaves a bomb, or he drops a bomb, I mean. And that bomb can basically blow up anything except for high HP units, for example a bowler, or it doesn't really affect the giant. But stuff like a Mega Minion and Musket and those kind of troops he will just annihilate. And offensively it can be really good to bait out, for example, an Inferno. And then I also used a Giant Skeleton Hog Rider deck. So if you can bait out their Inferno with your Giant Skeleton, your Hog has a free way to go. So that also really worked out well for me.
Players were amazed by the deck's effectiveness at the top of the ladder, and similar decks began gaining popularity in lower arenas, all thanks to Surgical Goblin.
If we can get that push, that is the best way. If you guys choose to use this deck against Lava Hounds, look at that. Drop him off in the same lane as the Lava.
In November, Clash Royale introduced several new cards: Elite Barbs, Tornado, Electro Wizard, and notably, the Clone Spell. The Clone Spell added a whole new level of fun for Giant Skeleton users. Let me quickly show you one of the funniest clips I found on YouTube and Reddit using the Clone Spell. Note that these clips aren't exclusively from 2016. But the clone spell wasn't the only card making waves in the Clash Royale universe. In December, the Tornado also made its mark on the meta, especially when used in combination with the Giant Skeleton. By using the Tornado to pull everything into the Giant Skeleton's bomb, players could create a devastating combo that many took full advantage of. Additionally, on December 12th, a significant balance update was introduced, boosting the Giant Skeleton's damage by another 8%. Now this change was a game changer, allowing the Giant Skeleton to finally one-shot goblins.
The Giant Skeleton has been on Supercell's radar for a long time. They've explored many options, but that just leads to a lot of stalemates at the bridge. As we saw in February when its bomb exploded faster, draws are no fun if you're trying to open your crown chest. Its damage is increasing by 8%. Most interactions will remain the same, but the largest change is that it'll one-shot stab goblins now. The goblins won't be able to fully shut down a Giant Skeleton anymore.
While this was a notable improvement as 2016 came to a close, a new chapter began where the Giant Skeleton would face challenges unlike any other card in Clash Royale's history. By February of 2017, the Giant Skeleton had reached the brink of extinction with a 0% usage rate. He was considered the most useless and unpopular card in the game that year. Several factors contributed to this decline. Skeletons received a buff, increasing their count from 3 to 4. Suddenly, Larry was in almost every deck, dominating the arenas like never before, and reaching a 72.5% usage rate in June. Wow. Similarly, the Goblin Gang also rose to the top of the meta. Additionally, the introduction of the Bandit made P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam even more terrifying. P.E.K.K.A. decks surged in popularity, and the Giant Skeleton offered little to no value in these matchups. So as a result, the Giant Skeleton maintained a 0% usage rate for most of the year, with only a brief rise to 2% in July. Later that year, the Mega Knight was introduced and quickly became a fan favorite due to his frustrating jump mechanic. His defensive and offensive abilities were on another level compared to the Giant Skelly. However, some players didn't give up on the Giant Skeleton. One of the top players at the time, Determination, used a fascinating graveyard deck featuring the Giant Skeleton and Furnace. He won several grand challenges in a row, beating popular Golem Beatdown and P.E.K.K.A. Minor control decks. Determination's success with his deck showed that with the right strategy and skill, really any card could be viable in Clash Royale. One worthy mention has to go to this popular Miner deck, which featured a double bomb pressure from the Balloon and Giant Skeleton. What I love about this deck is how easily it could counter the Three Musketeer beatdown. Placing the Giant Skelly on one side meant that you didn't have to worry about it, as his bomb would wipe out everything, leaving you to focus on the other.
So what am I gonna do here, guys? He's playing Three Musketeers, not worried about Three Musketeers. I'm just gonna play my Giant Skeleton when they get to the bridge, and he'll stop everything in their tracks. Here comes Giant Skeleton, doesn't matter, I'm gonna log. I wanna kill that Battle Ram while he's in range of my Giant Skeleton, and that works. Look at this Giant Skeleton bomb. That is some good Giant Skeleton value there, takes down everything. I do have one Musketeer on my King Tower.
Overall, the Giant Skeleton was a rare sight in the arena at this time, and Supercell knew they had to do something about this card. And sure enough, they finally did. In the December balance update, they increased the Giant Skeleton's hit points by 5%. And while I can't say, that's a huge game-changing buff, it was definitely something. Now the Giant Skeleton had a better chance of reaching the tower with just a sliver of health, and it could survive one more hit from the majority of cards, like Mini P.E.K.K.A., Knight, or Prince. So, would that slight buff give the Giant Skeleton the edge he needs? Buckle up for an exhilarating journey as we uncover his dramatic comeback in 2018. It's 2018, and the Giant Skeleton has found its way into many popular deck archetypes. Rizwan, one of the top players at the time, dominated the ranks with a fascinating log bait variant that included the Giant Skelly, Cannon Cart, and good old Tornado. What surprises me most about this deck was how easily it handled Lava Loon decks. Rizwan had no trouble 3-crowning his opponents. The biggest advantage of this deck was its effectiveness against the very popular Expo decks. Bone Daddy could easily shut down the Expo and any troops the opponent placed, making it a breeze to defend. With 4 bait cards, Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang, Princess, and Goblin Barrel, it was easy to force out Log and Fireball, allowing for a simple yet effective Goblin Barrel push to deal significant damage to the tower. Another deck that rose to the top of the meta was a Graveyard deck. Ash invited another top player to showcase this deck, which used the Giant Skelly as a great tank for the Graveyard and an excellent defensive troop. This deck worked extremely well in both defense and offense, and throughout the year the Giant Skelly remained a rare sight. However, it was amazing to see that he was still viable.
Suddenly, a Giant Skeleton, an Ice Golem, and a Mega Minion all coming down the right lane. We have a huge Elixir advantage as well. Dark Prince put on that Giant Skeleton. Mega Minion in Giant Skeleton is going to finish him off, but guess what, guys? The opponent has no Elixir left to play the Ice Golem to distract that Giant Skeleton away from the tower, and thank you. That's 1,000 damage or so off that tower.
Even players like Surtag found success with various Graveyard decks featuring the Giant Skelly. Unfortunately, by the end of the year, things took another turn for the worse. In December, the Giant Skelly's usage rate had plummeted to 1%, and its win rate was a dismal 27%. These stats were from Grand Challenges, though things were different at the top of the ladder. Sir Carlos, another top player, showcased a Balloon Freeze deck with the Giant Skelly, and most surprisingly, the Witch. This unexpected combination caught many opponents off guard and helped Carlos climb the ranks on the ladder.
It's a monster counterattack and a Graveyard, but check this out. I mean, I say this all the time, guys, but if you're going against a Graveyard deck, you want to focus on the troops coming down the lane, and they're all dead.
What's truly surprising is his card selection, as he had some of the worst cards in the game and made them viable. So let's take a look at December's stats. Witch sat with a 2% usage rate and a 17% win rate. Bomb Tower, 0% usage. Giant Skelly, 1%. This clearly shows that no matter the meta, top players can always find a way to make cards viable. Now, as we bid farewell to 2018, we are entering 2019, where everything has changed in the blink of an eye. "2019 was a wild year, full of balance changes and new cards that shifted the meta instantly. First, Clash Royale introduced the Fisherman, bringing a new hook mechanic that caught opponents off guard. Second, the Giant Skeleton received a huge buff. Finally, Supercell realized it was time to improve him after such a poor performance in 2018. In April, a new balance update decreased the Giant Skeleton's first attack time interval to 0.3 seconds from 0.5, and increased his mass to 18 from 15.
The Giant Skeleton is getting a nice little buff. They're increasing its weight from 15 to 18. What do these numbers even mean? To put that into perspective, it'll now be as thick as a Golem, Royal Giant, P.E.K.K.A, Bowler, even a Sparky. It's not much, but it's enough. They're also increasing his attack speed from 0.5 seconds to 0.3 seconds. This is a really huge impact, and it's going to make him punch really fast. This improves his offensive capabilities, allowing him to plow through Goblin Gang and reach the tower way faster. This almost doubles his damage output.
This was significant, as he can now wipe out skeletons, Goblin Gang, or goblins a bit faster. More importantly, his increased mass made him a great blocking troop, especially against Hog Rider. One player immediately took advantage of the recently buffed Giant Skelly, and was probably the most underrated player in 2019. Tauron. Tauron was an exceptional player, reaching top finishes every single month. Thanks to him, the popularity of the Giant Skelly began rising, as everyone wanted to try out his deck. The miner ensured that you always got chip damage on the tower, and Goblin Gang, Baby Dragon, and Tesla made defense extremely easy. Here we can see Tauron against Goblin Beatdown, outsmarting his opponent and securing a victory.
Here comes another balloon and the Baby Dragon. Here comes the miner. Miner's onto the tower, getting more chip damage despite the activating. Oh, look at that NATO! Pulls that Baby Dragon to the opposite lane along with the Ice Whiz, and that's gonna be GG. I told you this guy was good, guys. I told you he was good.
In this match, he's against P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, perfectly showcasing the powerful combination of Balloon and Tornado.
There it is. E-Wiz is down. We have the miner on the tower. Come on, man. Come on, Tauron. You got this. Oh, he pulls the E-Wiz into the death bomb of the giant skeleton, and boom, just like that, tower is gonna be down. Tauron wins again. Dude, man, back-to-back sick finishes.
Watch Tauron outplay his opponent to take down Lava Loon.
Bending the virginity here, man. He's gonna go for the Goblin Gang. I assume he just NATOs everything. He's gonna just be very patient with the NATO. He is Baby Dragon. Goes and NATOs everything into the Baby D of Justice, and he secures the W. Wow, man.
In this match, he cleverly handles Miner Cycle.
And you have to keep going for the Giant Skeletons. You have to force the Inferno Towers. If the Inferno Towers not forced, the game is gonna be lost.
Once again, he dominates against P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, and finally, he secures a solid victory over Graveyard.
The Goblin Gang split makes sure that his opponent can't spell because he knows he has end up having arrows and snowball. Now he gets a free couple goblins on the right-hand side. He's actually going for a zap, and the Giant Skeleton is getting very, very close to his opponent's tower. It actually breaks through, and those Spear Goblins, the few Spear Goblins that he split because he knew his opponent was going to go in for a arrow anyway, he got the Spear Goblins and eliminated some of the skeletons, allowing his Giant Skeleton to get to the tower, and that basically just took his tower. So yeah, that was a huge play. It's the same thing as like splitting Rascals. When you know that your opponent has log and it's going to log them anyway, you have to split them so then you get some type of counter push on the other side. So yeah, Tauron just using that and applying that to his deck, it's just a high level pro play that you need to incorporate into your games, and that literally just won him the game, I think. He's going to go for a Baby Dragon to block, and his opponent's not even back to Snowball. There's no way. The game is over. GG and well played to Tauron. I thought that was one of the highest level games that I've seen in a while, in incredibly clean defense. So
in December, the Giant Skelly reached a 2% usage rate and a 43% win rate. That's a little improvement compared to the previous year, but keep in mind these stats are from Grand Challenge, and several players were dominating with Giant Skelly at top ladder. That's why Ash invited the Master, the King, the legendary Tauron, to share his tips and tricks for success.
You go with just a zap there on defense. We're still going to need more than just a rocket. Giant Skeleton's still going strong, but unfortunately not going to get to that tower. It just feels like a matter of time, right? But you're doing a good job forcing him to at least use rockets. At least use rockets on the defensive end rather than offensive end. Nice Baby Dragon there, nice zap as well. You get a guard, you get a miner, get a Baby Dragon on that tower. Are you kidding me? Dude, you did it again!
It was amazing to hear his thought process as he overwhelmed his opponents and secured victories with ease. The first match is against Morton, and the second against Audubon, both top players to this day, and well, Tauron cooked, as always.
It was just to defend. I played Giant Skeleton so I could damage his Giant and destroy the Night Witch, but I told you this deck cycles so fast that he got to another Giant.
Another Giant, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the fun thing is I actually made it. I defended against this Giant, but there's the Magic Archer. He outcycled me a bit, and he made all the damage on my tower.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that strong cycle kind of got you, but you decide to go in here with the balloon.
Yeah, because again he played Magic Archer on the bridge, and I knew that he had only bats, and unfortunately I missed some of the bats, but balloon gets a hit. Here's a small misplay by him. My Tesla was still up, so Tesla kind of dragged Giant into going my main tower. So yeah, this moment I went so aggressive. I went hard in the pain. Tag would say that. So
yes.
So it was either I'm going to take all or nothing, and here I got some nice value with the tornado and bomb damage, that damage of balloon, and Baby Dragon. They finish off the match.
Yeah, very well played there. Keep applying enough offensive pressure that you don't really give him a great opportunity necessarily to he doesn't have enough elixir ever to lightning, like on that very first push, he didn't even have enough elixir to lightning your Tesla. So you let that balloon connect, no big deal. He's only going to get one hit.
Yeah.
And that's going to be GG's. Wow, well played, man, against Anaban.
So, as we wrap up 2019, the Giant Skeleton's resurgence set the stage for an even bigger shift in 2020. Stay tuned for the introduction of the most irritating card Clash Royale has ever seen. And if you know the game, you know where I'm going with this. It's January 2020, and the Firecracker has hit the arena. This card brought a fresh dynamic to the game, quickly becoming both a loved and hated card by players. Her recoil allowed her to stay alive for too long, and her unpredictability sometimes made her avoid spells. The Giant Skelly, in combination with the Clone and Firecracker, created a triple threat deck that dominated the meta. The Furnace and the Firecracker added layers of frustration, while Clone could intensify the chaos, as highlighted in a video by Surtag. Even though the Giant Skelly didn't receive any balance changes, his popularity was on the rise.
I am having so much fun with this deck. It is the most toxic thing I've ever played in my life, and I don't think he can stop it. Look at the recoil. It's so far separated from the skeletons. He can't hit it all with arrows at that point. That's hysterical, man. We can go for a Giant Skeleton here. He's still not able to hit it. I don't think we can clone a clone, but this is hilarious, man. Look at that Firecracker still giving us value. We can go clone it now and get another Firecracker. He did arrows, and then he missed one of the clones. Oh my gosh, this is hysterical, dude. We're going to win the game.
By July, the Giant Skeleton's usage rate had climbed to 3%, and his win rate surged to a notable 46, signaling a strong comeback. In Shane's video, we saw the good old miner balloon cycle with the Giant Skelly and Fisherman. This deck helped players climb the ranks and was considered one of the best at the time. In August, clone decks saw a resurgence in popularity. Boss showcased a Giant Skelly clone with the Heal Spirit in one of his videos, winning every single match.
So low on elixir right now, we can just go for another Giant Skeleton, go for another Skeleton Barrel, go for a Heal Spirit, we can go for a clone. Ooh, good value Fireball on his end, but look at all this that he has to defend. Double Cannon card on his tower, and that is good game.
Brad played a significant role in popularizing the Giant Skelly clone deck, showcasing its effectiveness in the evolving meta.
Looking for the bomb. Alright, that's gonna get pushed on. Oh, I just won that side too.
And Shane was no different.
And then we're gonna have the Cannon card locking onto his tower clone down here. That should be tower down. We got 2 giant bombs to his tower, Cannon cart logs on, and one more salty good luck from our dear friend King.
I'm pretty confident these YouTubers played a major role in the Giant Skelly's newfound popularity in grand challenges. In December, his usage rose to 7%, with a 52% win rate. These are very healthy numbers for any card. At this time, Giant Skelly even found his way into Royal Giant decks, as the bomb could clear anything in the Royal Giant's path, allowing him to reach the tower.
I'm having so much to fear. So I'm going to go for the Earthquake now. I think you go for a... Oh, he went for the Valkyrie afterward. It got hit by the bomb.
Several deck archetypes featuring the Giant Skelly were floating around YouTube.
He's going to lose his archers. Really, Giant Skeleton and 10 doom on our opponent. He cannot stop me. We're inevitable.
Right here is a 3.9 elixir Royal Giant Skeleton base strategy.
However, just a few months later, the Giant Skeleton faced a devastating balance change that would change its newfound popularity. The future looked uncertain. March 2021. This date went down in Clash Royale history as the saddest day for Giant Skelly lovers. Clash Royale devs decreased the Giant Skeleton's death damage by 54% and increased his attack damage by 29%.
Skeleton, and its punches being 28% bigger, so 222 damage. Basically, their message is that they felt that it reduced the skill cap of competitive play, and it was a universal defensive card that you put down and it just defends everything, especially in 7 times or 2v2. With its extra punch, it's gonna deal a lot of damage. All of the fireballies are gonna die in 3 punches now. Zappies and Magic Archer are going to die in 2 punches now. This is pretty significant for Zappies. Instead of 9 hits, it's 6 total hits now. And of course, the most significant interaction, it one-punches all the log units like Rascal Girls, Dark Goblin, and the Princess now. In terms of its death damage, it's not even that big of a deal anymore. It's only going to deal 444 damage. But because it packs more of a punch, it's actually very similar damage to the Princess Tower left alone. With its death damage, it will no longer kill fireballies. This includes musketeers, mega minions, all the wizards, the Electro Dragon, Night Witch, Witch, Bandit, Fisherman, Hunter, Cannon Cart, and Baby Dragon, but it will still kill skeleton dragons, zappies, and magic archer.
So, despite Supercell's intent to boost his offensive capabilities, the giant skeleton lost much of his previous impact and charm. Fortunately, a June balance update aimed to restore some of the giant skeleton's former strength by allowing his bomb to inflict double damage on crown towers. This meant that his bomb now did similar damage to crown towers as it did before, but it no longer wiped out most cards. The damage was done, and oh boy, did it hurt. The giant skeleton's usage rate plummeted to a mere 1% yet again, reflecting how the balance changes severely affected its viability. Ouch. Good job as always, Supercell. Despite these setbacks, one player managed to make the giant skeleton viable with a hog giant skeleton deck. Morton, seeing the success of this deck at the top ladder, tried to play it, and let's just say he didn't have the same luck.
No! No! Look! No, Yosep! No! GG!
Unfortunately, the giant skeleton didn't see a rise in popularity for the rest of the year. There weren't any dominant deck archetypes featuring him, and he became the forgotten giant. But Supercell didn't give up on him. Admitting their blunder, they rejuvenated the giant skelly next year, and he stormed back into the game, capturing the hearts of players all over once again. "2022 was the most challenging year for our Forgotten Giant, marked by a series of balance changes starting in April. This time they increased the giant skeleton's hit points by 7% and decreased his attack time interval to 1.4 seconds, down from 1.5. This balance update breathed new life into the giant skeleton, allowing him to survive longer on the field and eliminate troops more quickly. Consequently, his popularity surged steadily among players. He reached a 6% usage rate in Grand Challenges, not game-breaking, but impressive when you consider his win rate, 60%. Out of all the cards you see on the screen, the Giant Skelly had the highest win rate in Clash Royale. This basically means that those who included him in their strategies were very successful. One of the game's top players, Ian77, capitalized on the Giant Skelly's resurgence with a powerful Hog Earthquake deck, featuring the Giant Skelly and Archer Queen. He consequently finished #1 in the world, solidifying the Giant Skelly's reputation as a top-tier card in Clash Royale.
I feel like that was a little bit aggressive of a graveyard, didn't do too much for him here. And we're just gonna hog here. We're gonna also hover our tornado for his bats, and gonna prediction EQ on his skeleton army. And wow, we actually hit 2 predictions in a row. That looks like it's gonna be GG.
He might go with like a fisherman or something, but if he tries to activate his king tower, I think the hog will still get like a shot on his tower. And he does actually go with the fisherman, but he does misplace it there, so allows the hog to get some damage on his tower. And we do have 2 giant skeletons down. I think that fisherman may actually pull the giant skeleton into the tower, and yeah, looks like that will be a good game.
Sadly, just as the Giant Skelly found his place in the meta and became a viable card yet again, Supercell chose to nerf him. once more. By the end of 2022, Clash Royale developers reduced his hit points by 5%. While some players still achieved success with the giant skeleton, the nerf diminished his impact. Additionally, the introduction of Phoenix and Monk, two of the most powerful and disruptive cards at their release, further complicated the meta and impacted the giant skeleton's effectiveness. Despite these challenges, the giant skeleton maintained a steady 4% usage rate in November. Not great, not terrible. Luckily, with a set of balance changes and nerfs to Phoenix and Monk, the meta became more versatile, allowing more deck archetypes to enter the arenas. As the curtains closed on 2022, things were heating up for 2023. The next year, the giant skelly would go through a wild ride that no one could have predicted, so get ready. It's a beautiful new year, January 2023, and players are excited about what Clash Royale devs have in store. The game seemed balanced, with no card dominating the meta or causing frustration. The Giant Skellies had an 8% usage rate, surpassing even the once mighty Archer Queen. Hog Earthquake remains an effective deck in the current meta, and balloon decks with the Giant Skelly are a common sight in arenas. Things could not be better. That was until June, when everything changed in the blink of an eye. Supercell, for the first time ever, introduced Evolution, an update that shocked the foundation of Clash Royale. With the first 4 cards being able to evolve, Firecracker, Royal Giant, Barbarians, and Skeletons, things turned out really bad for many cards, including our beloved Bone Daddy. Giant Skelly versus Evolved Barbarians adds a -1 elixir trait, and even then, the Giant Skelly's bomb couldn't bring them down to 1 HP, requiring an additional response, resulting in a bad elixir trade. Giant Skelly versus Evo Skellies? Yeah, no chance. Giant Skelly versus Evo Firecracker. He could barely take her down and was left with half health, but players usually protected the Firecracker, so he rarely got close. Later in the year, the Evolved Knight was introduced, and the Giant Skelly struggled to take him out too. The Knight left him with barely any HP. Against evolved Royal recruits, absolutely useless. Giant Skelly was simply outmatched by the evolved versions of these troops, making it difficult for him to be effective in those matchups. And the introduction of more powerful evolved troops made Giant Skelly less viable in certain situations. In July, the Giant Skeleton's usage dropped to 2%, only to fall even lower in September to 1%, making it one of the worst cards in the game. It was sad to see him so far down in the ranks. Some players still found occasional success, like Ian77 with a Hog Rider deck featuring the Wizard.
Okay, I'll take this Fireball for sure. Wait a minute. Wait, Giant Skeleton? Oh, he's done. Good game.
Or Riley with a Goblin Drill deck with the Prince and Evo Skellies.
Forced out a Tornado too. Not bad. I could just clean everything up with like a log. I don't want to risk anything. Evolved Skeletons are so scary, I just don't want to deal with it. Okay, I can Fireball on that. He goes for a Mirrored Barrel. I'm gonna Evo Skellies. Huh? Wait, what? How did they live? Okay, I'm gonna Giant Skelly the bridge and then go for the Goblin Drill on the right. I do not know how those lived, but I'll take it.
However, beyond these niche applications, no dominant deck on the top ladder featured the Giant Skeleton. But behold, my friend, what if I told you this wasn't the end? What if I told you the Giant Skelly was far from done, and you'd be about to witness the true rise of the Forgotten Giant in all his former glory? Behold. Hey, wow. If you're still watching, awesome. Hey, here's a fun idea. If you made it this far, type the balls at the end in the comments. That'll enter you into the giveaway I talked about earlier, and also confuse viewers who didn't watch until the end. They'll be like, what balls? Where? Now, moving on to January of 2024, a new set of balance changes was introduced, including a significant 6% health bar buff for the Giant Skelly. This had an immediate impact on his usage, with it reaching 4% in grand challenges, but this was just the beginning. The meta shift dramatically with the introduction of the Dagger Duchess, a powerful new tower troop with a 90% usage rate. Heavy cards like the Giant Skeleton and Royal Giant became very popular, as they could absorb many shots from the Dagger Duchess while allowing support troops to finish the job. Suddenly, the good old Giant Skelly and Royal Giant combo was back and stronger than ever. In May, he reached a 6% usage rate, becoming more popular than the Lava Hound, Hog Rider, or Graveyard. Notably, a deck featuring the Giant Skelly, Hog Rider, and Little Prince emerged as a strong contender. Surtag showcased this deck on the top ladder and won several times in a row in his video, proving just how valuable the Giant Skelly had become. Similarly, Ian77 was back, this time not with the Hog Earthquake deck, but the Hog Void deck, featuring the Giant Skelly and Evolved Wizard. This new deck quickly gained popularity in the Clash Royale community, showing that the Giant Skelly was becoming a key card in various competitive decks. Sadly, the nerfs to the Dagger Duchess caused her to fall out of the top of the meta. By August, her usage rate had dropped to 15%, and the Giant Skelly fell with her, down to 3%. At this time, players' focus shifted back towards cycle decks, making the Giant Skelly too heavy to be used, especially with the Hog Rider. The Mighty Miner, on the other hand, cost 2 elixir less and allowed a 3-card cycle, making him a perfect addition to the Hog Earthquake decks instead of the Giant Skelly. Top players like Surgical Goblin and Ian77 found much better success with the Mighty Miner, and our Giant Skeleton began to fade into obscurity once again. However, there was still hope. As more evolved cards are added to the game, I'm pretty confident that the Giant Skelly will receive an evolution. Probably next year, though. Mark my words though, the Royal Giant and Giant Skelly combo will be back, and even more terrifying and powerful. Now, if you want a deeper dive into the world of powerful big black balls, definitely check out this video on the history of the bomber and find out why he's so gosh darn good in Clash Royale. If I'm honest, it's one of my favorites on the channel, so I'll see you there.